We engaged the Executive Director of the Environmental Protection Agency, Dr. John Kingsley Krugu, on a wide range of issues, a swathe of issues concerning our environment and why we need to protect it. We'll be getting into some details with him. A very good morning to you.
Very good morning to you and to all your viewers.
It's been a while, and since you took office, how long has it been again? It's not been that long, but...
No, not that long. I started on March 5th.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's been about, what, five months?
Yeah, thereabouts.
5 months, thereabouts. Yeah. What has the experience been like? When you took over, there was some commentary, some of us even mentioned that because of your background, it was an apt selection as far as you were concerned.
Yeah.
There are some offices where we have our own concerns, but as far as yours was concerned, we felt it was apt. How have you fared 5 months down the line?
Oh, I think it's been an interesting 5 months to me, a revealing one. The most important is my own discovering and deeper understanding of what the EPA is and what the EPA can do to protect our environment. Most people, previously like me, see the EPA in a different light altogether. And when you get closer, you get to appreciate the central role that the EPA plays in the governance architecture of this country. The fact that the EPA has its leg in every sector of the economy. You know, if you look at from the petrochemical industry to oil and gas to agriculture to the built environment, you know, to anything you can think about, because anything that you are going to do that will have implications for the environment, it means that the EPA has a role. So whether you're going to build your house or you want to cut down a tree near your house, or you want to establish a factory, or you want to import or export any kind of chemical, because any of these will have implications. If you want to construct it in the road, or you want to do any other thing that will have an impact on the environment, the EPA has a role to play. I also got to know that it is quite a technical agency. So with quite some expertise in there, very well-trained professionals, among the best. My directors are providing consultancy services to the UN bodies, to other African countries. Every now and then, I have to receive a delegation from a sister African country. They are coming to learn what the EPA is doing. And the fact that our EPA, we are celebrating 50 years of protecting the environment. And so there has been quite some baseline work that has been done. And that is why I can't wait to see that the EPA has been transitioned from an agency to an authority, and to be able to even bite better and take the needed steps that we need to take to protect the environment. And we have done a lot of work around that, thanks to the pioneering work done by the Honorable Dr. Kokofu, and I came to continue it, and with the support of our Minister for Environment, Science, Technology, Innovation, and the Honorable Ophelia Hayford has come on board, taking up the effort to get the EPA bill passed into law, to make the EPA an authority. The last time Parliament rose, our bill was on the order paper, and for some reasons they could not get to the finish.
You don't know the reasons for which it was not taken on by Parliament?
I think there has been a lot of work. There have been a lot of issues raised. You know, the EPA, an EPA bill, it's also a bill that has implications for almost every sector. And so there are so many issues to deal with, and people have to tick the boxes and look into the clauses carefully. So we have done a lot of work that weekend. The whole weekend we had spent together with colleagues from Attorney General Department to dot the I's and cross the T's and all of that, and to get a new version printed, relayed, and all of that. That happened. So I'm aware that the majority leader request, and I saw in the news that the Speaker has granted that request and is calling Parliament back in early September. And so our bill, if you read the majority leader letter, you will see that our bill is one of the reasons why the majority leader think that made an appeal to the Speaker to recall Parliament so that it can be passed into law. Because
so why is it still in limbo? And when are you expecting that maybe it will see the light of day?
I think it is on the forefront, and when
are you sure? It appears to be on the back burner.
No,
not on the forefront.
No, it's not. If you read the majority leader letter,
yeah, but
it says that we need to recall Parliament back because of ABCD.
Yes, but Parliament did come back, right?
No, they are yet to come back.
Or you're talking of the current.
I'm talking of the.
Okay, I thought you were referring to the previous one where they called Parliament back to.
No.
So when then? When then are you expecting?
September 3rd. September Parliament. 3rd. I'd read that the Speaker has called Parliament to come back on September 3rd, and we are looking forward to that they would do.
So once Parliament reconvenes, your hope is that the bill will be voted on. It means the processes are now going to start. Is that it?
No, the processes is almost complete.
It's almost complete.
Through first, second reading.
Okay, so those readings have been done. All right.
Considerations, all of it has been done. So we are hoping that when they get to it, they will pass it into law.
Of course, if those have been done, then it facilitates the process. Then it will just have to come to the vote in Parliament and the decision to be arrived at. I have a quick, an interesting one for you. Anytime we talk about the EPA and the environment and all of that, one area we often forget is noise. Noise pollution. There's such a thing as noise pollution. Does that fall under your purview? If it does, how do you manage noise pollution in the country, not just in Accra? Because you go to different pockets. I go to residential areas sometimes. You have people complaining. It's a residential area, but there's this, get up factory or whatever. Oh, there's this, and with all apologies, pastor here making a lot of noise at night and you can't sleep. There are people with megaphones selling this and that, and it's supposed to be a residential area. What are the noise limitations? Does it fall under your purview?
It does, and some pastors will come after you if you.
Oh, I mean, it's the reality sometimes.
It does fall under our purview. I think that over the years, it's been, the typical Ghanaian attitude that it doesn't matter, we can deal with it. But the EPA has taken the necessary steps.
Which are?
Because this is the first time that the EPA, working together with other stakeholders, has put together regulations, the protocols, the standards that will guide the regulation of noise pollution. And many of those work that has been done now, we are waiting for the bill, because when you do new standards and regulations, and at the same time, you are making a new law, you then make references to the new law. You can't make it to the old one, because when you publish, then you have to do a new one altogether. So many of those works has been done, and we are waiting for the new law to become, the bill to become law, and all of these will be published to guide the public on how to deal with issues of noise. But currently, we do receive complaints, and our technical people go to do an assessment and be able to advise and guide people what kind of gadgets you need to install in your church, for example, to make sure that you contain the sound inside and that it doesn't go out and become noise and affect other people. And all of that kind of work has been done. And I think going forward, we would be in a better position to regulate the pollution of noise.
There are also those who may be in nightclubs or pubs also blaring music, but all
of them.
The question then is, are there punitive measures, and are you ready to crack the whip?
Yes.
For those that are recalcitrant, are there punitive measures? Are you ready to crack the whip?
Yes, yes. I mean, the EPA, the compliance and enforcement has a compliance and enforcement department.
Since you took over, has that department had to crack the whip anywhere?
Yes. If you pay attention, you would see in certain places that, and I have even signed some of those certificates. I came and the Honorable Kokofu had signed them, but they ran short and they came and I signed them. You will see a compliance notice pasted somewhere. It's either stop what you are doing, close down the factory, close down this particular activity. You can't do this. It's put there. And if you don't, in most cases, people comply and they run to EPA to get technical support to deal with whatever. Because the EPA is not there to stop people from doing what they want to do, but to make sure that what you are doing do not have a negative impact on the environment. Yes, I think that is happening. And we think that when we become an authority, we will even be in a better position to crack the whip.
I see. Yeah. So generally, you would say that your work at Post so far has been fruitful, right, over these 5 months?
Very much fruitful, very much. Look, one of the things that I have
just very briefly on that.
Yeah, one of the things I've pushed through, and very soon, I just had a discussion with the minister just last Tuesday to launch a 7-year strategic plan for the agency. When I came on board, this work was going on, but I needed to push it because the last strategic plan ended about 2 or 3 years ago. So there has been a gap, and I needed to push this through so that we can have a new strategic plan for the next 7 years on how the EPA is going to play its critical role in protecting the environment. Very soon that plan is going to be launched. And also another important aspect is the climate change in the educational curriculum. And very soon we'll also get the minister to formally hand over the curriculum materials to the Ghana Education Services so that we can put climate change education in the school curriculum, and make sure that our children can imbibe that attitude from day one so that it will make it easier for them to play that role of protecting the environment and dealing with climate change going forward.
And you mentioned climate change and everything in between. Definitely, once you talk of climate change, you would also be thinking about forest cover and how we are protecting ourselves. So let's go there now. If you look at what naturally, primary forest and all of that, a few years ago, we were looking at about 7.6 million hectares. Interestingly, in 2022, we lost about 18,000 hectares of primary forest, which was about 70% increment from 2021. And the trend seems to have continued per the data. This is alarming. At a point years ago, sometime around between 2020 and 2021, we were given warnings that the rate at which we were losing our forest cover was insidious. Yeah. It was startling. And we have not let go. The trend seems to be continuing. Couple that with Galamsey and it's a mess. But let's focus on forest cover. Since you took over, what have you seen? What has been done in respect of, protecting our forest cover?
Yes, so thank you. When it comes to protecting the forest cover, as you know, it is the Forestry Commission that has the mandate to protect the forest cover.
The Ministry for Lands and Natural Resources, Forestry Commission.
For Lands and Natural Resources.
But you have a role, don't you?
When it comes to trees, and
you have a role, don't you?
I'll come to our role. When it comes to trees, those in the urban areas, those in your house in Accra here, you can't cut them without EPA permit. If we catch you cutting one of them, and we ask you produce the permit.
If you catch them.
Yes, yes. If, yes.
How often
if
do you
they
catch
ask
them?
you to produce the permit that allow you to cut a tree and you can't produce the permit, you'll be in trouble. Now, those trees that are in the forest areas is the Forestry Commission. The role that the EPA can play is if the Ministry of Lands, working through the Forestry Commission, grants anybody a permit to go into the forest to do any industrial work, okay, then that is where the EPA, you need EPA permit, because we want to know that whatever you are going to do in that forest, to what extent is it going to impact on the environment? So for us, we would demand that you get consultants to do environmental impact assessment, bring the report to us, we will review, and then we would demand that you put in impact management plan in place so that even if there's going to be any impact, we know that there is a plan on how you are going to manage that impact such that it will not have adverse effect on the environment.
It sounds very nice how you say it. Do we always follow that pattern that you just put out there? Do we follow it to the letter?
We do follow it to the letter. The problem...
We do?
Yes. The problem you are seeing, if you listen to me carefully, I said that when you are granted a permit by the Ministry of Lands, and you now go in there, you need our permit. Most of the destruction you see in the forest are people who have not been granted, nobody has granted them permit, and they have found themselves into the forest. And in most cases, regulatory agencies may not even be aware. Let me tell you how sometimes Galamsey people operate. They can take their time to discover that there's a particular mineral here. And because of a certain agenda, they can time the process. And maybe one day there's a big national event going on, everybody's attention is out. They can go there just 3 days. They can go and pull down things and uproot everything. And by the time you get to know, they have disappeared. When you have a situation like that, it becomes very difficult. And that when you see that, you may think that, oh, the EPA is not doing its work or other agencies are not, but that is not the case. Because if you were to pass through the rightful route to obtain a permit, then you will have to come under the regulatory regime, and therefore the EPA will insist. Because the EPA would not permit you without
the question is,
this
Dr. Krugu,
that I'm talking about.
It's like saying, you know, in every society, you will have criminal elements.
Yeah.
That's why we have the police. You will not say that because people did certain things on the blind side of the police, you can't hold the police responsible for failing to mitigate that criminal situation. The police should find avenues of ensuring that they have eyes everywhere, that they have informants, and that when people perpetrate crime, they are apprehended. That is the work of the Ghana Police Service. So if you tell me this, it's like saying, it's not really our sloppiness. It's just that these people are too slick. They are too quick, and you don't expect them, when they are criminal elements, to come through the formal process. So you should also expect that some of these people outside will do this. It is part of your responsibility, together with the Forestry Commission, the Ministry for Lands and Natural Resources, to also take care of those, is it not?
You're very right. It's actually, if you have followed the development of the new bill, these are some of the contentious areas. The reason why the bill has been in Parliament for a long time...
It's because of some of these, eh?
It's because of some of these, because we at EPA, we think that, for example, if you have a mandate to protect an aspect of the environment, we think that it is not only those who go to destroy that thing that we should hold responsible, but we should also hold you, who has that mandate to do that role, also responsible. The police have those authorities and they have those powers. The EPA doesn't, okay? So in the new bill, if you have followed the conversation, It's exactly what you're talking about, because we think that the EPA, we as a people, we need to recognize and take and identify the EPA as this central government agency that we should all give it the needed powers to be able to protect the environment, as it does in other jurisdictions. You go to the US, you have the EPA board sitting in cabinet. That is how serious they see that, you know, because you need a certain clout to be able to make sure that you hold everybody responsible for protecting the environment. I think we are getting there. I think we all recognize that we need to do things differently. We need to take the issues of protecting the environment much more serious than we've done in the past years. And because we are all at a threat, with existential threat to our very existence on this earth, if we don't take the needed steps to protect the environment. So I'm with you in that direction. And I think the ongoing work is heading towards, you know, bringing us to that point where we can hold. And also, more importantly, to also be able to expand the EPA to cover everywhere. The problem we have, the EPA has regional and area offices. Area office means that you have an office that is in one district but in charge of 3-4 districts. There are capacity challenges, you know, to be everywhere, to monitor and be sure that you are up on your game. And those are also issues that, you know, almost every year, and this year we will do again, almost every year we take these matters to the Ministry of Finance and see whether we can get budgetary approval to expand our offices and our scope to be able to cover the entire country. Because if you do not have the strength, the staff strength, then you have to regulate all the way till offshore, and then in what the oil fields and all of that. You have to do all of that. You have to make sure that whatever chemical that is coming in, it's safe for the environment. What is going out, you have to look at all these filling stations all over the country. You have to look at, you need a certain level of capacity to do that. And
speaking of that capacity, logistically, in terms of logistics, the human capital, human resource, are you constrained?
We are constrained. We just don't have enough. Because
what's your yearly budget?
If we have enough to, you know, we spend 2 million cedis, you know, per month, you know, on remunerations and all of, and the
just salaries and stuff,
and the logistics that are needed to go out and do the work, you know. And so, because we do technical work, so that is expensive. Because if you want a permit, before I put my signature on your permit, the processes that it needs to go through, our people need to come and see where you want to do that thing. We ask you yourself to get a consultant, because if we put a consultant, you will contest our finding. But we have the expertise to review, and we know most of these consultants. So we say, get the consultant to do your work. The consultants know the report is coming to us, so they are not going to put their reputation on the line, because we have the expertise to scrutinize that work. They will bring it, and we have to review and make a decision. And most cases, we'll raise questions back to you. You have to go back, and you then have to bring a plan. And these days, more and more, we have decided that most cases, when it is industrial work, we would not permit until we do stakeholder engagement. The reason be because if we, in time past, some permits has created problems. That, for example, there's a filling station that has been permitted, but it's not too far from your residence. And one day you are going to scream.
And there are so many of them.
These days, what we do
There are
now,
so many of them right here in Accra. You
But
go into a cluster.
Yes.
you know, an
Going
area
forward,
with a cluster of houses, and you have a filling station right in the middle.
Going forward, this is no longer possible because either you have been able to put all the safety measures in place such that it doesn't matter whatever happened, the people are protected, or you can't. Because these days what we do is to do stakeholder engagement. So you say you are going to put the filling station here. We are going to come and have a meeting with all the people around there in an open meeting and say, Kokui Boatin says he's putting the filling station here. We want to know what you guys think about it. What do you think? And everybody will have a say.
What then happens to those areas? I mean, I know the law is not retrospective, it is not retroactive.
Yeah.
But where you find dangerous situations, where there are such filling stations already existing in residential areas, in that new bill, or as you forecast, are there any mechanisms to deal with those? Because there would be ticking time bombs. You can put in all the protective measures. Disaster could still strike.
You know, how it works is, it is when people raise the issues. We don't know which filling station is where and is dangerous. But if people come with a petition or with an issue to say that, look, this is A, B, C, D, we will send our people to go and investigate. Sometimes it may be true, sometimes it may not be true that it's posing a certain risk, or the client has taken all the necessary measures in place, and that can, you know, show that irrespective of what happened, the people around there are protected. Some of these measures, if we get to know that, no, if the risk is too high to allow the process to go on, we work very closely with the National Petroleum Authority, the Standards Authority, and all the other agencies that are also collectively regulating the sector. And so we would normally have a conversation around. And if all the regulatory agencies do agree that this is a risk, it will be closed down. A few of these stations have been closed down as a result of these kind of assessment. But again, until people draw our attention to what is untoward around these kind of things, we will not be able to know and to go out and take the needed action. But if it comes up, we will take action. I mean, this is Ghana. This is our country. I
get it. I want us to move on, but something came to mind, and it's been re-echoed for me. So you're saying that if people don't petition you in these instances, you would have no way of knowing that maybe there's a filling station or a fuel station in an unapproved place. In other words, until residents report to you, there's nothing you will do or can do?
No, not exactly the point, because these...
But that's how it sounded, so I needed clarity.
These clients and these people also have to... Because they have to renew permits. Permits are renewable. When you are going to renew your permit, you need to come up with a report on what has been happening there. And
but Dr. Krugu, how do you even get a permit when you are not supposed to be in that place in the first place? How do you even get a permit to talk about renewing your permit? Do you get what I mean? The thing is wrong. The person has got a permit. It's like building on a waterway. The person has got a permit to build on a waterway. The person has got a permit to put a filling station in a residential area. You are saying we should wait till they are coming to renew. What if disaster strikes before they are coming to renew?
So it's a perception. You may be amazed at what you think that person has done is wrong, that if we go into the technical assessment, we can end up that no, there's no cause for alarm. So that's why I'm saying that until somebody then trigger that there is a cause for alarm. Because, like I told you, the EPA, very well-trained professionals. This is one of my respect for the EPA when I got there. Very well-trained, people who know what they're doing. And therefore, sometimes, look, recently, there was some issue around the Shire Hills area, and there was an alarm, and somebody brought pictures and brought reports and brought order. But to me, personally, when I called the respective officers and I said, go into this. You'll be amazed that eventually what they brought as a report is quite different from what these pictures were showing. And so sometimes people also want to sensationalize an issue and make it look like hell, you know. But if you go into the details and you investigate and you apply the regulations, the standards, the protocols, you know, one of the things that I am happy that the EPA has done, and we can proudly celebrate these 50 years, is the availability of protocols, standards, regulations, guidelines on what almost everything you want to do. Right. If you come to the EPA, you will get that technical support. And so people go in to apply the technical lens in matters that the public may just think that, oh, this is, this is not right. But if you apply the guidelines, you come to that conclusion that it is not as you think.
All right, it may not be as you think. I want us to continue from there and focus on the declassification of some places. You would realize I was talking about the loss of forest cover earlier, and if you look at the last few years, between 2001 and 2003, the forest loss cover, you would look at the western region, the highest affected, followed by the Ashanti region. Then you have the eastern, central, and Bono areas. All of them in a cluster, interestingly. Yeah. All these regions are in a cluster. Yeah. These are also mining regions by and large. The first two, looking at the western region with 574 kilohectares, and then the Ashanti region with 382 kilohectares of those in there. You would realize that those two alone accounting for about 50+%, right? Now, here's where I situate it. The Forestry Commission has its role. The Ministry for Lands and Natural Resources has its role. But your role in all of this, I'm talking about the Achimota Forest, for example, and its declassification. I'm talking about Ramsar sites getting compromised. I'm talking about parks and gardens property being sold off. How does it feel for you sitting there as CEO with all of these things happening? Look at the Achimota Forest. It's a great contributor to our water table. It's a great, bastion when it comes to flooding, preventing flooding in Accra. Yeah. Look at what is happening.
Yes, but again, you need to appreciate the mandate of the EPA.
No, I just acknowledge that
if you have a declassified Achimota Forest, you have to know that the EPA has no business going to that
I am
area.
Fully aware of that.
Because
that is why I couched the question.
By
Dr.
law,
Krugu,
by
Dr. Krugu,
law.
Answer my question.
Yes.
I couched, don't skirt the issues. I couched the question by saying, I know, Forestry Commission, Ministry for Lands and Natural Resources, but you have a role in there. That's why I asked, how do you feel sitting where you sit as CEO, EPA, and seeing all these things happening? What are your interactions with your colleagues on the other side?
Yes, so if we were the EPA Act 49, if that one had empowered EPA to be able to take on other agencies, then you can raise this question to me. But
I can't ask you how you feel with what you see from where you sit.
No, I can't be happy as a Ghanaian.
You are not happy?
To see, I can't be happy as a Ghanaian. I don't think there's anybody. But you see, what I'm saying is that if that place, by law, you cannot go and build your house there. So the EPA, the last place the EPA will think about is Achimota Forest. Because you need to have obtained a permit from somebody before you come to the EPA to say that because of what I'm going to do, I need you to give me a permit. But we know that that place, you cannot get a permit to go and do anything. So it is the last place people at EPA is going to think about. So places that by law you cannot go in, the EPA has to get busy with those who by law can do something, and we need to make sure that what they do, the environment is protected.
Are you in agreement with the declassification of the Achimota Forest?
Yeah, has the entire forest been declassified?
I am saying that whether portion or whole, are you in agreement with declassifying any portion of the Achimota Forest?
I don't know the context within which.
Declassifying it, I mean, it goes far back. There have been concepts about using it for some sort of park, but with construction work, malls, and all of that. In recent, I mean, you remember the Sir John incident, some portions of it being willed out. Now there's been talk again about. In fact, I've had people from the Forestry Commission, workers, reach out to me, top officials, with their concerns, and government and everything.
No,
so I'm asking you.
No, construction of malls and things. I
Are you for? Environmental groups say don't touch it is virgin, leave it as it is. Should we touch the forest in any way? Should we declassify a place like that?
I don't support that we declassify a place like that. Because, look, I have lived outside this country. And recently when I was in New York, I loved to go and run in the Central Park in New York. So, for example, if you tell me that you want to do something similar, which in a more natural way, in a more sustainable way, and less destruction to the environment, but gives an opportunity for people to go and relax and walk around the trees and, you know, and gain some spiritual aspirations out of it, I will support that. Anything in the area of construction of malls and things, I can't support that because I've lived in places where I've seen what it means to have such a forest cover within the city. It provides, you can't get it better than that. So I think we should do everything possible to protect the places like that for the future generations as well. Yeah.
And in those areas, again, I know it doesn't fall necessarily under your purview, though you have an interest. In areas ravaged by galamsey, for example, and as we see more and more of the proliferation, interestingly, the very places I mentioned where you are seeing the largest losses of forest cover, there's a nexus between the loss of forest cover and illegal mining activities.
Yeah.
What is the EPA doing collaboratively with the other institutions of state to resolve the matter?
Yes, so I think just working with other institutions of state and playing our role of supervising and ensuring that there is restoration of these lands that has been destroyed and reclaiming these lands and making sure there is revegetation activities going on. That is what we do. In fact, to be honest with you, I was in the Western region and I became much more worried because sometimes we are looking at minerals like gold, but I discovered kaolin because there are a number of factories that are producing tiles in the Western region.
Yeah.
They depend mainly on kaolin. And there are a lot of illegal activities around kaolin, which is also just destroying as people who are also looking for
They are mining
gold.
in the Western region.
Yes, you know, and the rate at which, because in their case, there's also a big market for kaolin now because you have more than 2-3 factories that are producing tiles, and all of us want to have nice tiles in our den. And so these companies, they depend on kaolin. That's their main raw material. And so a lot of galamsey is also happening, which has nothing to do with gold and the things we have known in the past. So I think that but I've told you that anytime you mention galamsey, by the grace of God, I got properly trained. I got an opportunity to coordinate a national project that we're looking at landscape restoration and small-scale mining. And now I've been transitioned to the EPA. And the combination of my experiences in these two agencies, if you ask me, What can we do about galamsey? My answer is very simple, which is that we need to do everything possible to formalize the sector. One of the biggest challenges we've had so far has been if we take a cane and we say we are looking for whoever is doing galamsey to ship that person. This process hasn't worked over the years.
So what do? Let them do it, but let's regulate them. That's what you're saying.
Thank you. If we let every Ghanaian know that by law, it is your right to do small-scale mining. In fact, it is preserved for only Ghanaians. If you are not a Ghanaian, you cannot go get a license to go and do small-scale mining.
But that's a fine line you're walking. There is legitimate small-scale mining, and some people are involved in that.
Yes.
And there is galamsey, which is something totally different.
Thank you. So what we need to do is to bring this group of people doing galamsey to the legitimate small-scale mining, and we will not see the problems.
How do you think that can be achieved?
Well, I think the steps has been taken. Even the project I coordinated, the Minerals Commission, has been doing a lot of work. And this is where I say that you guys in the media, if you don't see a decommissioning of an excavator and fire burning and things, you say that the galamsey fight has died. But there's a lot of work around this to make sure that the sector is formalized. The Minerals Commission is doing an excellent work. As I speak to you now, Ghana Geological Survey Authority is in the field conducting geological survey. You know what that means? Because people go around digging, and when they cannot find what they are looking for, they will leave and go somewhere else to start digging because they have no interest and motivation of filling in what the dark out that they've created because they have spent energy and resources and they got nothing. So they are more interested in where else can we get something rather than to restore what they've done. Now the Geological Survey Authority is in the field conducting very detailed geological investigation at almost everywhere that has been suspected that there is a mineral. And they are going to bring that report. What it then means.
When is this report going to be ready? We are always futuristic with these things, and it takes forever. When will this report be ready?
This one, they do and report. They are not going to wait until the whole country is covered.
What was the last report you saw?
I think a report from the Dunkwao area is ready, for example, and they are continuing their work. So when you now apply that you want to go to that area to do mining, you will now be directed to the specific place where, because of the detailed scientific work, we say, don't go around digging, go here. That is where we think you can get something. Then if you go there, because you can get something, we think, then we can also ask you to post a bond. So that if you run away, we will have your resources to restore the area. That is what I say, the process of formalizing. Get everybody who is hungry and think that by digging the earth, he will get something, to say that, look, we make it easier for you to get a license. That process has already been done because you can just apply right sitting in your bedroom on your phone. You can go to the Minerals Commission website and start your entire application process. And you can pay through Ghana.gov. So you don't need to be moving from one agency to another and chasing people and things like that. That is part of the formalization process that has begun. As I speak to you now, there are consultants working to do what we call the one-stop shop. Link the EPA, Water Resources Commission, and Minerals Commission on one online platform. Part of the things that His Excellency the Vice President has done to this country, the digitalization process, put these three agencies in one platform so that you would not have to move from one agency to another.
Okay.
When the process is done at the Minerals Commission, they will click a button and it will pop up in somebody's computer at the EPA, and they would also do their processing You can do any kind of payment through Ghana.gov. And so you don't need to move. That is part of the process of formalizing the sector. So if there can be a land that has been investigated and can be allocated to you with the detailed information sufficient. Also, more importantly, you need that kind of information to be able to go to the banks and take a loan to go in, because part of the problem why you see some Ghanaians even go for a concession and go looking for other nationals to come, it's about investment. When you get the concession, mining is an expensive endeavor. If you don't have the resources to go and mine, and you cannot get a loan, you go and look for who has the resources to do that. And then you end up seeing that there's a different national there, and you think that they are the one with the permit to do. No, nobody has permitted them, but it's about resources. But before you go to the bank and also get a loan, what you are holding must be detailed and sufficient so that the banks know that, okay, if I give you money, I see that there's something.
The likelihood of repayment is.
So it's that whole work
Right.
that is ongoing to make sure the formula is formalized.
There are two other issues I want us to look at before we wrap, but let's start with air quality and air pollution. It's becoming problematic. Every now and then we see spikes, especially in Accra,
Yeah.
when it comes to air quality. And there are times when we've been one of the topmost countries in the world when it comes to air pollution. There are bands within which we fall.
Yeah.
But generally, Accra is the air quality has issues. You look at exhaust fumes, something we often take for granted, but a lot of the trotros and the vehicles that go around, exhaust fumes. We don't take it seriously in this part of the world. There are those who makeshift abattoirs, people burning, all these things in there. On the matter of air quality, what is the role of the EPA? How much attention do you pay to it? Because it appears it's free for all.
No, it's not.
It's not,
It's not free for all.
It's
and
not.
The EPA is paying utmost attention to air quality. And you are right when you talk about exhaust fumes, because there's also scientific data available to show that the quality of air along major roads, are the poorest. So, but I tell you what's going on. There has been air quality sensors, monitoring sensors, equipment over the years. And some of these equipments have become obsolete. Some of them are not functioning very well. We have taken steps to
Which steps?
Get new low-cost sensors to install, and even as I speak, in my residence, work is going on to install a new monitoring, and we want to have many more monitors around, that can make us detect any changes in the quality of air and quickly investigate to know where the pollution is coming from and take the needed steps. We are also hoping that this whole emissions levy and all of those things can bring in the resources that we need to be able to. And also working with the Ministry of Roads and Transport, I think you have seen so much effort towards, shifting away from fossil fuels, although my latest discovery, the impact this whole campaign have had on the oil sector is quite huge. Ghana's oil industry came on board quite late into the thing, and now Paris Agreement, many investors are not willing to invest into the oil sector. So we know that the oil sector is not getting the needed investment. It has its own implications, but this is all part of the attempt to shift away from fossil fuels, and that will lead into us having much more cleaner air for us to breathe. But the EPA is taking serious steps, installing sensors, and very soon you would even here we are working with private partners to recently the PPP Secretariat of the Ministry of Finance, the committee gave an approval for us to work with a private entity that will also enhance and increase our monitoring of the quality of the air that we breathe and any other emissions into the environment.
I see.
Yeah.
All this talk about fossil fuels and all of that also pushes me in the direction of what our COPs have been dealing with over time, COP26, COP27, climate change, and its ramifications. Unfortunately for us, while a lot of the pollution has happened in the temperate world, we're in the tropical end of things, and we suffer the brunt of it. So you would notice that our climate, the temperatures have been rising. In the other spheres, you have glaciers melting at a faster rate, sea levels rising, and all of that. As far as the EPA is concerned, break it down for us. How desperate is the situation when it comes to climate change in Ghana? And what should we all know? What should we all be doing to arrest the situation?
Well, I mean, the question of how desperate this is the situation of climate change should have been answered 10 years ago. We have crossed that question. We are in the reality of climate change. It is not a future phenomenon. It's happening. My old lady in the village is able to tell me, maybe she doesn't know that we call it a sexy name, climate change, but she says, hey, I see that this is not how this used to be. This is changing. Sometimes he asks me, do you know why this is like this? Because this is not how it used to be.
And its impact on global warming,
Exactly.
its impact on even crops.
Exactly.
Because if they are farming, they will feel the impact. The rain is not coming when it's supposed to come.
Exactly.
Our crops are getting burnt up.
Exactly. The good news is that Ghana has taken climate change serious. There's a national plan on dealing with...
How effective has that plan been?
Both adaptation and mitigation measures are being implemented by various sectors because it's a multi-sectoral approach. We host the secretariat of the UNFCCC that organizes this COP every now and then, and the next COP is coming in November. Yesterday, I was in a meeting with the second lady. You know that she's also championing this aspect, and we were discussing, what...
Is our president still head of the Climate Vulnerable Forum?
Yes.
Is he still head of the Climate Vulnerable
Forum? Yes. In fact, no, she's not...
No, I'm talking of Nana Addo Dankwa.
He's not the head.
Because I know a few years ago, about 2 years ago...
He's no longer the head, but the good news is that he has been able to bring the secretariat to Ghana. The national secretariat is based in Ghana. So I think, I've forgotten, but a former president of one of the countries is the
current head.
Yes, in the secretariat. And he has moved to Ghana because the secretariat is in Ghana. So Ghana is taking these matters very serious. I think the good thing that is happening is that investments are moving away from fossil fuels. But these investments are going into carbon market. Okay, so this is where we would then have the opportunity to have the needed investment to deal with the adaptation and mitigation measures. And carbon market development has become a big issue right now. And I encourage every guy.
We're talking about carbon credits. Some people are buying, others are selling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you can go and acquire a huge portion of land, or all these degraded places that we are talking about, if you can reclaim it and revegetate, you will get investment to do it because somebody is holding the money. They're looking for carbon credit to buy. And it is a huge competition out there because multinationals have to show. When all these COP is not for nothing. When you go to all these COP...
I mean, there's a lot of lobbying and...
Thank you. People have to show what have they contributed
Yeah.
to mitigate? And people, there are not everywhere can you get land to grow tree.
Yeah.
So all these multinationals are holding their money. They look, if you have trees, you have 100 acres of trees, and you can put it on the carbon market that this is what you have, you'll be amazed how many people will fly from different countries looking for you because they want to claim credit from your trees. And then they can then go and show that this is what we are doing to contribute, you know. So it's a big area. The good thing is that it's bringing the needed investment to Africa.
Okay.
And African countries are taking steps. Ghana, we have the carbon registry in my office. If you want to develop a carbon credit development project, you come, you register, you get all the needed technical guidance, and then you can go into it.
Okay.
To protect the environment.
Let's look at the final point, which is pretty relevant, maybe saving the best for last, sanitation. A lot of the flooding and everything that we talk about, and even our health. Accra, and I'm sorry to say this, we said we would make it the cleanest city in Africa. It's a far cry. I mean, it's not as though nothing had been done, but it's a far cry from there. Sanitation is a chronic problem, especially in Accra, but in other parts of the country. Look, there are times when even around the Jubilee House, people have, there have been heaps of rubbish, and many years ago. The sanitation problem, how do we get it right? And then we can get into a bit of Zebela constituency. I know you are gunning for that seat and what your plans are. But let's start with sanitation.
Yes, and I agree with you if you say that we are far from getting Accra as a cleaner city. I've lived in cleaner cities, so I have an idea of what a cleaner city will look like. We are nowhere there. I think the problem in this country is it's about who we are as a people. And sometimes you think it's the politician or is the agency leader or is this who is not doing. I think it's we as a people, because if you take, and it's the reason why.
But who makes the people do the right thing? I always say nobody likes taxes. Why do people pay taxes elsewhere without? Because if you don't fulfill your tax obligations,
you know that
the taxman will be at your doorstep. People go and there are mechanized fuel pumps and all of that. Why does no one? Because if you do it, there are cameras everywhere. You will pay through the nose for.
Yes. So
if you compel people to do the right thing, they'll do it.
It is us as a people. Look, almost
you lived through the days of tankers, did you not?
Almost.
You lived through the days of tankers, did you not?
Yes.
The town councils that they called tankers.
Yes.
Why were they effective?
Yes.
Because if you don't do it, tankers will come to your house and you will get a summons.
I agree. You see, I hope it happened under democracy. Almost every regional minister of Greater Accra and Accra mayor easily becomes unpopular just by taking the right steps.
It's because politicians want to pander.
No.
You are afraid. You're always thinking of votes.
No.
You're always thinking of votes.
It's we as a people. I can bet my last penny that if a regional minister, Accra mayor, take a measure that affects your wife's sister or something, it will end up that you are a media guy, you are popular. The sister is going to come to you and say, as for you, you are popular. So
everybody knows I don't.
You have to lead the delegation.
I don't use my influence for that.
So the point I want to make is that it's us as a people. I agree with you. We can do much better. And even here in Africa, some examples are there. And I think that we can do much better. But because when you have a structural problem like what we have in Accra, that these problems has existed over the years, you now have to take drastic measures to be able to deal with it. Anybody, and check the media, any Accra mayor or a regional minister who comes on board would install something. The Honorable Henry Porty said he had this clean Accra, make Accra clean thing. Past people have done that. I've heard my good friend, the new one, also beginning to talk like that. Now, It is we the people.
Titus love.
Yes, we the
Okay.
people. We
All right.
would send the chief and send the delegation.
All right.
Send it. We say that no, this is our day.
So we should focus on ourselves.
So we as a people, and that's
Right.
why I'm saying that the good thing is some of these things are now getting into our educational curriculum.
Okay.
I hope it will produce a different set of Ghanaians.
All right. Let's cap off the conversation. We have to go. Isabella, what are your hopes there? And how are you approaching the election?
Well, I
Trying to
think,
become MP.
yeah, I clearly have a difficult task ahead to winning that seat. I'm not.
You have your work cut out for you.
Yes, I am not in doubt that the Zebula seat is an NDC stronghold. And you know that the venerable Cletus Avonka has been in the political space since 1992. When he went to
Foothold.
When he went to Parliament, I was not yet in secondary school, you know. So you can then, and he has served in different portfolios in government, even including the majority leader in Parliament. He served in the ministry I'm working now, and the former ministry I was working, the Minister for Land.
So what are you saying?
What I'm saying is that over the period, he has been able to establish the NDC strongly in the constituency. So I am aware of this, that I am in a battle for my life. I don't take every step I take for granted. But also for the same reason, I am fighting nail and tooth to win the seat, because I believe that I have something to offer. My experiences, not only in Ghana, in Europe, but also in other African countries, by the grace of God, being to other 18 African and Asian countries to do some work, some consultancy work or some partnership thing, and having worked in Europe, and having been trained as a public health expert, having worked as a development practitioner, I think I bring a lot to the table. And the initiative that I've taken there, I've not been working all around the world and forgetting where I come from. Establishing an NGO since 2002. I came out of school in 2001 from KNUST, and 2002, I had established the Youth Harvest Foundation Ghana. Today is working not just in the Upper East region, but in other regions of the North. You know, 2 years ago, I went to campuses and I became so sad. I established a scholarship fund. And this year alone, close to 50 students have benefited from that scholarship fund. Because, you see, there's one problem we haven't taken notice of. With the free senior high school education, many, many young people who otherwise would have not had any chance to go to secondary school got the chance to go now. Now, these are coming from homes like where I came from, the most vulnerable. But they have now finished senior high school. They have to go to tertiary. And there's no free tertiary education. So for them, it looks like this is the end of the world.
That is the end of the world.
And we need social safety systems to support these people to be able to get their aspirations. And I put that in place. Becoming a candidate, when I was moving around campaigning to become a candidate.
We really have to go.
Yeah.
You're optimistic you can win.
Moving around to become a candidate, I got to places where they fetch water for me to drink. And you know, politically, you have to drink this water, but you know that this is not drinkable water.
Yeah, it's not potable.
And I took a decision that I would drill boreholes for these places. And
but I just want you to make this
over
point.
80 of these boreholes.
Regardless of everything and the
that,
clout of Cletus Avoka, you think you can beat him, right?
No, the good thing is that he's not.
He's no longer there, right?
Yes.
He's not standing again this time.
He's not contested.
It's a different candidate you have.
It's a different candidate altogether. I mean.
So that's where you find your joy. You are hoping that since it's not Cletus.
I think the people should look at the two of us and measure us. And I've told people that this election is not an NDC NPP line. It is about who is John Krugu and who is the other colleagues. There's no one. There's also an independent candidate.
Doctor.
It's a fight for my life.
Dr. John Krugu,
and
we are
I'm
grateful.
optimistic that the people will crown me victory.
All right.
All right.
We're grateful for your time. He is Executive Director, Environmental Protection Agency. He just joined us for this conversation.